Hello everyone and welcome to the Commexis cast. All the news you need to know from our inbox to yours. Today we're talking about the International House of Burgers. Hello everyone, I'm Matthew McGrorty, the videographer and podcaster here at Commexis, and today I am joined by the lead strategist at Commexis, Phillip Brooks.
Good afternoon.
So today we are talking about the International House of Pancakes rebranding into the International House of Burgers. Something that I am sure your Twitter feeds have been alight with these last couple of days, as well as potentially you have seen this in the news or some other places that have been, collecting some beautiful, I think personally, responses to this rebranding. Just so, for those of you who don't know, a couple days ago, IHOb began this, this branding moment, I guess, by saying that they're going to be changing their name to IHOb without explaining what it is that they were exactly going to make that B stand for. So people were thinking, International House of Breakfast, International House of Bacon.
Blintzes.
Yes. Yeah. International House of Bananas. But you know what isn't bananas? Great marketing moments. But you know what is bananas? The press release for when they said International House of Burgers. So it came out the other day that they are officially making it the International House of Burgers for a limited time. So here's a little quote from their press release. Today, IHOp Restaurants announced that it is going by a new name, IHOb. Since the news broke last week on the brand's social media sites, fans cannot get enough of more than 30,000 people speculating what the change could be. Guessing everything from bacon to brunch to bananas. The change, in fact, celebrates the debut of the brand's new Ultimate Steak Burgers, a line of 7 mouthwatering, all-natural burgers. Each Ultimate Steak Burger starts with they're going into the ingredients of it. They're burgers, and they sound okay. And then, to show the brand is serious about burgers, as it is about its world-famous pancakes, it's flipped the P to a B in their iconic name for the time being, including its Twitter handle. The key word there is for a limited time. And the flagship IHOb restaurant in Hollywood, California has been completely re-burgered and will now play host to a VIB launch party on June 11th. So the flagship actually had IHOP, the little sign outside, changed to IHOb in a show of brand solidarity, I suppose. Now let's get to perhaps the funnest part, I think, of this whole experiment, which is other brands totally destroying IHOb on social media. So obviously these tweets have been going around for about a week, so there are a lot of opportunities for brands to, prep and get ready for their response. Some brands included on release Chili's. They said, we don't usually throw shade, but seriously, that's what all that was about. Here's a real burger for you. And they included a nice little video of one of their burgers called the Boss Burger. Checkers and Rallies said, used a Captain America meme and said, so, burgers, huh? Whataburger said, as much as we love our pancakes, we'd never change our name to What a Pancake. Denny's, who is infamous for their very weird social media, said, Grandpa, do you remember the Great Burger Wars? And then a grandpa emoji saying, well, no, I was chilling, drinking milkshakes, and trying to make sense of Westworld. Netflix said, BRB changing my name to Netflib. And Wendy's had perhaps the two greatest tweets of it all. The first said, remember when you were like 7 and thought changing your name to Thunder Bear Sword would be cool? It's like that, but our cheeseburgers are still better. And then they also said, in reply to somebody asking Wendy's response to this change and this growth of IHOP into Wendy's market, they replied, not really afraid of the burgers from a place that decided pancakes were too hard. So, I mean, I personally really enjoyed when I heard all of this social media ruckus. What do you think about this IHOb change before we get into some nice things?
First off, the question would be, do you have a pancake flag at half-mast? Like, what do you do to really kind of just, put this in perspective?
You pour out some maple syrup.
Yeah, for all the homies that aren't here anymore. No, I think it's clever. It seems like an interesting, I guess, something to jump into, considering the amount of places that do burgers well. Yeah. But I guarantee you, in the short term, there's going to be a lot of people. They're going to create a lot of buzz, and they're going to get I'd love to see the numbers on how many more people are going to come into the restaurants for that. I don't know how big their lunch menu was prior to this, but I'm assuming that lunch and dinner was not the primary reason people came in there.
Certainly.
So, I would imagine the short-term gains are probably significant, but I would also, just the word of mouth that's being spread just from this small social media campaign and how it's blown up has really been, I think hopefully eye-opening for a lot of the people that are looking at, what social media can do for you, especially in something that's, again, the amount of investment in this is fairly minimal compared to what you would have to do for a national, advertising campaign on traditional media.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the most interesting things about this is, a lot of people, when the name was changed or when it was announced that they were going to be changing the name before we found out what the B was about, a lot of people were skeptical and like, what's going on or whatever. But I mean, it worked out for them. I mean, even if there was backlash to the name change or people thought it was stupid, something like that, whatever, you still got tons of attention just from that, but also from all of these other brands going, hey, we're going to respond to this. Of course, Wendy's tweeting about IHOb is good for Wendy's because, they absolutely destroyed them, but also it's still good for IHOb because people are still talking about it. So that brings me to two, I think, really big lessons you can kind of learn from this social media branding experience. The first, I think, is don't be afraid to do something kind of radically different from what you have been normally doing with your brands or anything like that, as long as it's, I would say, relatively brand safe. Like IHOp changing their name to IHOb is really weird and different, but I would not necessarily call it brand unsafe.
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned earlier about Denny's being an extremely weird social media account, and I think that they're actually bordering on the absurdist kind of.
Absolutely.
And I think that's cool because they've taken their brand and said, look, we're going to take this voice and change it so that we stand out in a crowded marketplace. And Wendy's has been pretty good, prior to this too. They were. So I mean, I think the thing that we can learn here is that the voices the voice that you think that your brand needs to project isn't necessarily going to be the one that people are going to relate the most to, or the one they're going to actually, and I think this really takes the fact that you can look at talented, creative people, and it's not just social media interns running these accounts. These are talented people that would have, really good ways of saying things and understand human nature and humor. I think that, humor is a huge selling point.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. And I think the second point, sort of going off of the first one, is that you can't be afraid to jump in when the time is right and when the opportunity is hot. I guess when the meat patties are fresh off the IHOb grill, because I mean, Wendy's, Netflix, all these brands coming in, and their social media accounts typically do a lot of these reactions to things, but it really does not hurt that when you see a nice golden opportunity to jump on it. I'm not suggesting that you just start critiquing IHOb if you're not a Wendy's sort of thing, but there's certainly going to be either trends or conversations or something that are going on in the social media universe, and you can't be afraid to sort of jump in there when appropriate for you to sort of make your mark. I remember there was a aquarium that used that Choppers meme. Oh, God, I forget. Basically, it was people who the reality TV show where they were making American Choppers. Thank you. And it's the son and the father arguing, and they basically made a meme about how you have to use memes to relate to other people and younger kids so that they become interested in like museums and stuff like that. It was very interesting. But they clearly saw their opportunity and went, yeah, I think we could do something interesting with this. And it worked out. And I think, obviously, for all of these brands, it's worked out pretty well. I mean, I really liked Wendy's 2 tweets. I thought Netflix's was really funny. Yeah, so I just think it's been good.
You think about it this way, is you've got the opportunity to get your stuff in front of not only your own audience, but the audience that whoever you're reaching out to. So, it really does, it works out well for both brands. And, to be able to have those kinds of interactions, I mean, I think McDonald's and Burger King have had a lot of those interactions already.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Wendy's has certainly stepped in to kind of make those even more humorous and stuff. So I think this is not the last time you see this sort of interaction, but it's interesting that the brands that are brave enough to do this tend to be in the fast food kind of area. I haven't seen a lot of clothing brands and things like. I wonder what's going to be the next type of vertical that's going to take themselves not seriously enough to be able to kind of embrace this basic new element of interaction on social media.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to today's episode of the Commexis Cast. That's all for us for today. Phillip, thank you for joining me in this beautiful podcast experience we have created. I'm Matthew McGrorty. This is Phillip Brooks. Check us out more on TuneIn and Stitcher and the iTunes Podcast Store. Search Commexis Cast and you'll be able to listen to us. If you want to watch us, you can check us out on all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as on YouTube and wherever you're watching it now, which is more than likely one of those 4 places. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.